Oh. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hanuman Jayanti is not an event, rather is a movement. And so every class that we have, we celebrate Hanuman Jayanti by invoking toughness and evoking hope. He's an icon of toughness, and where there's toughness, there's hope. In my eagerness to begin class last week, we didn't have that 1 minute. So 1 minute from last class and 1 minute for this class. Close your eyes, feel your inherent toughness, and evoke that wherever this is needed. Hari Om, and greetings from Niagara Falls. What is the difference between a smart student or a smart person and a brilliant student, a brilliant person? You can have this dialogue with the person next to you. I'm assuming you'll position yourself as brilliant, yes? The difference is, one who is brilliant, they're more natural. They're naturally smart. There's less effort involved. Yes? Okay. What is the difference? Now that's secular. Let's shift this to the sacred. What is the difference between a good seeker and a great seeker? A good shishya and a great shishya. Application, shraddha, donations. Reception, retention, reconciliation. Reception is how open is a student? How open is a seeker? This relates to Shravana. How much do they listen? Next is retention. This has been listened to, but how much can I remember? And this relates to manana, or reflection. That's how you retain what you listen to. And the third is reconciliation. Reconciliation is how much of this has become part of you? How much of this can you apply? And that relates to nididhyasana, or contemplation. Our applied Gita course, which is reaching a completion, is a course in greatness. You know, so many organizations, they like to brand their courses a course in happiness, a course in miracles, a course in blessings. This is a course in greatness. All of you are good seekers. There's no doubt about that. This is a course in greatness. The reception comes through the discourse that I offer. The retention is through the discussion you have with each other and the dialogue you have with me. And then the reconciliation is all of the ways you're encouraged to apply. Whether it's filling in the attendance form or you're raw. Do you feel greater? I hope you do. I pray you do. This month, we are focusing on applied Gita in challenging circumstances, challenging beings. And the first shloka that we studied relating to this, living has, is, and will be, fill in the blank. Has, is, and will be difficult. Who can deny that? And if they're denying that, they're lying. It was difficult, it is difficult, and it will be difficult. What's beautiful about this difficulty, this is actually a message to rise above living. We call that life. See, living is the verb, life is the noun. To rise above living. In a Puranic sense, this is like Bhagwan Narayana hitting us with a mace. Wake up, wake up, wake up. I just kissed Vyasa goodnight and I told him, I hope that tomorrow we'll have a smoother day. Today we had a tough day. I was sitting with him this morning and he was jumping on the couch and I told him to go a certain way, but he went where I was sitting and my entire cup of hot coffee, I didn't even care that it spilled on me, it spilled on my notebook. The notebook which I've taught the Bhagavad Gita course, the Upadesha Sara course, those precious notes are all now stained and reek of coffee. It's nice to have the smell of coffee sometimes, but not all the time. And can you see this? Guess who did that? Shuka. Our son's not even a year old and he drew intense blood and a scar. That's not from shaving. I don't shave. This has been a message to me that I'm not a patient enough parent. These difficulties are to help us go deeper. The second shloka that we studied was encouraging us to shift from being doers to instruments to observers to beers. You're following the philosophy. Ignore the English. To beers. And what's amazing about this is the more you shift away from doership and more towards beership, challenges decrease. Don't you agree? The more you feel you're a doer, the more difficult living is. The more you are being, you've gone from living to life, the less difficult living is. We move to our third shloka on challenging. We are in chapter 6, verse 23, which I believe you read. This too is a popular and powerful verse. Please repeat. Tam vidyad dukkha samyoga. Tam vidyad dukkha samyoga. Viyogam yoga samnitam. Viyogam yoga samnitam. Sanishchayena yoktavyaha. Sanishchayena yoktavyaha. Yogo nirvinna chetasa. Yogo nirvinna chetasa. First quarter. Tam vidyat, which means all that Bhagavan Krishna has taught thus far. For us, all that this course has given to us. This is working on dukkha samyoga. Show me some yoga. Show me some yoga. With your hands, yes. Yoga is coming together, uniting. Some yoga is coming together intensely, becoming one. We have done this with dukkha. Show me dukkha. Done. You don't have to change anything. I'll explain this more systematically. When you depend on an article for your happiness, what do we typically call that? When you depend on an article, it could be a food, it could be a clothing. Addiction, no? I can't eat tacos without Frank's Red Hot sauce. Right? That's an addiction then. What do you call it when you're dependent on a being? For your happiness, it's called attachment, no? It's the same impetus. I'm addicted to an article, I'm addicted to a being. Addiction, attachment. What is it called when you're dependent on a circumstance? You need this circumstance to be happy. This is called apathy. Why it's called apathy? Because you know no circumstance is not going to change, correct? There are some businesses that are thriving right now during this COVID challenge, and they may even want this not to end, but this will end, yes? It is to be apathetic, to need a circumstance to be happy. Isn't this how we live? Addicted, attached, apathetic. We're one with all of this. And this knowledge is the only solution, the only cure to this disease that we're in. Without this knowledge, we'll keep on waiting for us to evolve, but we're never going to evolve. Please remember that. An extrovert is one who waits. An extrovert is one who procrastinates. An extrovert is one who's lazy. They feel that they're going to evolve out of addiction, attachment, apathy, but they're not going to. It is only with this knowledge that you start chiseling away at this stagnation. When something is old, it's rusted and there's crust on it, and you have to chip away at that. That's what this knowledge does. And this is shared so poetically in the second quarter, Viyoga. This yoga is known as the Dukkha Samyoga Viyoga. Show me Viyoga. Yes, if this is Samyoga, this is Viyoga. What Bhagavan Krishna has taught us, taught Prince Arjuna, is how to separate from addiction, attachment, apathy. Shared more simply, it's to separate from separation. Separation is the hallmark of ego. If you feel egotistical, if you're feeling someone else's ego, there's not a coming together, there's a separating that's happening. I'm like this, you're like this. And this knowledge helps us to separate that separation. This will only manifest when you're tired of being tired. Are you tired of being tired? If you're not, then keep up with the addiction. Keep up with the attachment and apathy. This week, I had 2 meetings with 2 young adults who are applying for the Vedanta course that will start in a few months, hopefully, at Sandipani. And both were sharing with me that they want to go to the Vedanta course, but they're concerned that they may be escaping. And they explained why. They said when living is going well, we don't think about Vedanta so much. But right now, in the challenge everyone's going through, there's so much anxiety. And they want out of this anxiety, so they think about Vedanta more. Yes. We're like that too. When our setup is temporarily fine, I'm not tired. But as soon as that setup is not fine, we start to feel tired and are waiting for that setup to go back. But anyone who's more sensitive, more long-term in their thinking, they're tired of being tired. And what this means in a Vedantic sense, in a very technical Vedantic sense, is that you start realizing the futility of deservership. When one is addicted, attached, or apathetic, you're trying to complete your inside outside. Is that logical? Will that work? So you start to realize that deservership is futile. Me needing to be recognized, me needing to be appreciated, me even needing to be included. All of that is futile. It didn't work, it's not working, and it's not going to work. And that's where you start to release this dependency. We move on to the 3rd quarter. Everything that Bhagavan has taught, and this chapter is on contemplation, has to be applied with nishchaya. Tell me the English word for nishchaya. Nishchaya means... These are good words. Conviction, determination is typically how this is defined. If you open this word up more, it's nischaya. For those who know Sanskrit or Hindi, what does chaya mean? Shade. When something is shady, when a person is shady, you don't give them your money, yes? And even when something is shady or dark, you can't see it clearly. So nishchaya means there's no shadiness, there's no darkness, there is clarity. Where there's clarity, there is conviction, as many of you have shared. Nishchaya is facilitated by Viveka. For those who have been listening to Swami Tejomayananda's talks on Kathopanishad, he had shared 2 lovely qualities about Nachiketa, who's this great student, Shishya. And those qualities, starting with Viveka, and then Shraddha, which I'll touch upon, one becomes convinced through viveka. Viveka is to question or not accept any experience that is not infinite. Now that's a high level of viveka. If we make this more simple, it is to question or not accept any experience that is not the truth. More manageable, more practicable. I'm getting no support from anyone right now, so I'll make this even, I hope, manageable. I can't go lower than this, okay? Then just give up. This is anishchaya. It is to question and not accept any experience that is not noble. Noble means there's an application of value. There is a morality to what one is doing. So infinity, truth, nobility. To not accept that. When you don't accept that, there's so much simplicity that is developed in one's life. And so there's clarity. If you know this friend is not healthy for you, it's simple. Don't give them as much time. There's more clarity about how to be healthier and happier, no? And this is connected then to the last quarter. Yogo anirvinna chetasa. Yoga anirvinna chetasa. To practice all that has been taught, you have to have nishchaya, which means determination. And you have to have anirvinna chetasa, which means non-dejection. A simpler word is inspiration. And a deeper word is shraddha. Shraddha, you know means faith. Here, shraddha means acceptance. Simply accept. There's so much in life that we accept without questioning. This verse is aligning that for us. There's so much in life we should question. And there's so much in life we shouldn't question, like satsang. Like the Shastra. So that balance has to be there. Right now we have Nishchaya and Anirvinna Chetasa when it comes to making money. I was sharing with some students, and I'll share with you again next week. We are unhesitating to spend any amount of money when it comes to our secular development. You all agree? The branding of your clothes, the marble on your kitchen counter, piano lessons, coding classes. Do you have that same level of conviction and faith in sacred efforts, initiatives, movements? We're much more hesitating to give freely towards that, yes? And that shows that we don't have that nishchaya and anirvinna chetasa in the right direction. We have it in the wrong direction. And that's what I keep sharing is how deeply we're holding on to addiction, attachment, apathy. And that has to be hammered away at only when you're tired of being tired. If you're not tired about being tired, then everything I'm saying, you're interpreting this as impractical. And why this is impractical according to you? It's because you don't want to practice this. And no book is going to tell you that. No recording is going to tell you that either, correct? Imagine there was a YouTube recording. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Work harder. Minus 500 views. This is an awesome verse. One of my favorite when I studied Bhagavad Gita and now teach it. I've shared this in every course we've studied. Specifically, Anirvinna Chetasa. There is no room for dejection. And that dejection is not going to come from outside. It will come from inside. All of you who are in the meditation and life course, these qualities are mandatory to be able to contemplate. Now, before we wrap up this verse, going into today's class, I was actually going to teach you the earlier verse. But then I feel that Bhagavan wanted this verse to be taught. So I'm just going to reference the earlier verse. Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tataha yasmin stito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Here Bhagavan Krishna says, anyone who has applied what I've taught, anyone who's learned how to be contemplative, then there's no higher development. There's no more evolution. Yasmin stitaha na dukkhena. One who's established in infinity, guru napi vichalyate. They are not shaken even in heavy sorrow. If you can think of all of our sadness combined, even that sorrow cannot shake one who has rediscovered their nature. So when we think of challenging, we've never gone through a challenge like what Bhagavan Krishna is describing we can be protected from. So if you are overwhelmed by the challenging articles, beings, circumstances in your life, Bhagavan is openly stating the way to not be shaken by these challenges: receive, retain, and reconcile what I'm teaching you, what Bhagavan is sharing. Let's chant our shloka together. Tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samnitam sanishchayena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetasa. Oh.